Okay, guys, we are here with Fahad Shaikh. He's a VP at Colliers in the office and healthcare real estate space. And to be honest with you, he's one of my best friends. And I don't even know how to, I don't even have to ask you how you're doing because I already know. But, you know, for the purposes of the camera,
all right.
How are you doing? You know, we're in the quarantine. You've been fasting. It's Ramadan right now. How are you feeling?
I'm tired, man. I'm tired. I've been working from home, and kids don't respect personal space.
Is it easier to fast during Ramadan, or is it harder?
You know what? It's actually easier to fast.
Like during the quarantine,
Yeah, it's actually easier to fast right now. The quarantine has made it quite easy because, you know, scheduling and all that is out the window, right? So, you know, you can sleep late, sleep in, that type of thing, work later. So, yeah, honestly, I've actually enjoyed it. I've actually enjoyed the Ramadan component of it.
And like, what has been the craziest thing? You know, we've been quarantining for like 2 months now. 2 months, 3 months, 2 months. It feels like a year.
It does, yeah.
What's been the craziest thing for you? Like, maybe it's your own behavior, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your wife. Like,
well, honestly, it's how surprising my wife and I are at like our patient levels are nothing. That's the problem. We don't even, we tell our kids a lot of times just go in the basement and we don't want to see them for like 5 hours. And it shows how bad parents we are.
Well, listen, the digital time in my house, like we've been with Maya and Dion, like has been crazy. It's been off the roofs, just off the rails. And to be honest with you, the biggest debate that we have in our house is if we're gonna send our kids to daycare because and I want to, but my wife does not want to, and this is the debate that we're having.
I know. We if we could, we would definitely do that. We just we have the luxury of we have some family that lives with us, so we have kind of built-in childcare. But my partner, who works with me, he won't be sending his kids to daycare until everything kind of gets cleared up. So it's kind of the dilemma, right?
Well, you know, it's nice that we're here because what I wanted to do, because, you know, listen, we're in a bunch of group chats together on WhatsApp, and I feel like the real, like, all the fake conversation is what you see online, and the real conversation actually happens in the group chat. And the real, you know, the real dialogue, the real conversation, the real actions, the real thoughts. And I was hoping that we could get the realest, most honest, most transparent conversation that we can here today when it comes to real estate, commercial real estate.
Let's do it.
And you are the guy that when it comes to commercial real estate, you know, I go to you all the time when it comes to your insights in this space. You are known in the community, in this city, you know, in this province around your ideas around commercial real estate. And listen, a lot of people have been working from home. I'm going to get straight to the point. A lot of people have been working from home. And they're enjoying it.
Well, it depends who you ask, right? Like, I think it's kind of a 50-50 split. Half the people enjoy it.
I don't know if it's 50-50.
Okay. I think it's 50-50 here. Like, you probably enjoy it. I freaking hate it.
No. Listen, I have my own take on working from home, and I actually don't think it's conducive to innovation in the long term. But I'm going to hit you with this bold statement that I've been hearing a lot, which is the office dead?
Oh, that's a bold statement. No, honestly, if anybody who says they know what the future is going to be like for office space,
they're idiots.
They're lying. Like nobody freaking knows, right? Like at the end of the day, this is the first time I've asked like people in their 70s, have you ever seen something like this? No one has seen something like this, right? But what it has done is it's essentially the biggest work-at-home experiment we've ever seen, right? And it's forced companies to essentially, it's forced them to figure it out, right? Because you can't go back to work, so people are making it work. And what's happening is a lot of companies are realizing, hey, I can actually incorporate this into my workplace strategy. So moving forward, and this is honestly after, we got to get that vaccine out of the way. But after that vaccine's out of the way, I think people are going to become more normal. And I think what is going to stay is people are going to allow people to work from home as well as working from the office. So a bit of a hybrid model. And I think that's going to honestly, fundamentally, potentially change the workplace, the way we look at workplace. So
like, what do you mean? Like,
so for example, the current workplace is structured in a way that a certain
It's like routine. You go there.
Yeah.
There's cubicles.
Yeah.
It looks like it was designed in the 1920s. It looks
Exactly.
like a linear
and,
cubicle.
And has it changed? It hasn't really, like, we've made
well,
so many.
the open office plans. I mean, that's what's changed.
Yeah, but has
that's
that,
been a big.
But ask
big,
yourself, has that actually fundamentally changed the way the social structure, the way people interact at work? I would say it's done a little bit of that, but I think what the home-based work solution has actually done, it's actually given rise to different employees, different people that wouldn't necessarily thrive in kind of the workplace structure that we've had since the 1920s. So for example, we're seeing like a rise of the introverts, right? The workplace has been always conducive to that guy, or to that person who's always the loudest person in the meeting, who's always the guy who can actually socialize with the boss, who they're kind of similar. The guy who can go out for a hockey game. He has the flexibility of going out to that hockey game after work because he doesn't have, he doesn't have to run back home. But now, let's call that guy Bob, okay, just for simplicity, right? There's so many Bobs in the world and they've been thriving. But now you suddenly have a place where, everyone's working from home and people are realizing, yeah, okay, Anita here is actually doing way more work than Bob suddenly, right? Like she's way more efficient at home, right? And we're realizing that Anita does 3 times more work than a guy like Bob.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you're hitting on something already that women already do 3 times more work than
Totally,
men.
absolutely,
But as an extreme extrovert,
Yeah.
I think your analogy is flawed in the sense that the way that the world is going, Fahad,
Yep.
is that work is becoming less routine. It's becoming less transactional. So maybe back in the day, you had somebody like Anita who could go off and work for 8 hours a day without and just be productive by her lonesome, by herself. But the way of the world is going in terms of the future of work is that there's a lot more cross-disciplinary teams coming together, different types of people coming together to work on more creative, more imaginative, more innovative things. This is different between across industries,
Right.
but work is becoming a lot more collaborative. It's becoming a lot more creative, and you can't do that working from home.
I think it depends. I agree. Going 100% to a home-based model, that doesn't make sense. And that's why office space is never going to be dead. Okay? You're going to obviously always need office space. But incorporating a home-based model creates flexibility. So now suddenly that person who was restrictive from kind of the traditional workplace now kind of gets relaunched, right? Like they can actually do more. They can potentially work within their environment, work within the parameters that they have, and thrive. Whereas the traditional workplace model wouldn't allow certain people to do that, right? So
Yeah.
I'm giving that analogy of Bob. I keep giving the analogy of Bob, but like Bob can go out for beers with his boss, whereas Anita has to rush home in the traffic for an hour and a half, right? And she's not able to do that. So now Bob is getting extra time with the boss and showing his, and being able to get promoted, whereas Anita is left behind. So I think this is an amazing opportunity to, this could potentially actually fix the issue that all these big companies are trying to do with diversity, gender equality, that type of thing. I think it could actually give rise to that. And I disagree. I disagree with your notion saying that, collaboration cannot happen. I think it takes a certain type of manager, which is now going to be different than the traditional type of manager, to be able to make people collaborative in a kind of a hybrid model. So,
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, I think it's going to work with some companies. Like you're seeing it with.
Listen, Twitter just said.
Yeah. Like Twitter
that
is a good example.
They said that literally last week or a couple days ago that they're going to move everyone. Anybody can work from home.
Yeah.
forever.
I know, but
I think this is honestly, I think it's the dumbest decision I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, Jack Dorsey. I mean, he's he's a bit of a dramatic guy, right? So I think they're saying that, but I mean, they're going to go back. Obviously, I personally feel you cannot function without. You have to have some component of a traditional office model, because that's where you're right. That's where people will come together, converge. But if you kind of have both together working simultaneously, imagine if you're looking to recruit for a very niche type of employee, right? Somebody who has a very niche skill set. Now you're in Edmonton, but that person, that one person actually works in Winnipeg. You can actually now hire her. Yeah. Right? And I think it just opens up a lot more doors, but I think people haven't figured out how to really optimize, right?
So do you think that the office, when this pandemic is over, that the office will be a luxury for people, in the sense that if it will be like a value add? Like, let's say I've just graduated from school, I want to work somewhere, and one of the perks is that I can go into an office. Oh wow, all my friends are working from home, I can go to an office. Do you think that will be a luxury, and do you think that will change commercial real estate, in the sense that, listen, people will want way better workplaces?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. This pandemic is actually going to force people to look at their workplace, for sure. One thing is the whole idea of fresh air intake. Okay, that's been a big buzzword for the last couple of years, right? Because studies have now shown that the more fresh air that a building is pumping, circulating through a building, adds way more productivity to the average employee, right? And a Harvard study actually recently was able to monetize it. So imagine, so the study showed that for on average $6,500, they monetize it, $6,500 per person is how much more productivity they get from each employee by just pumping more air, fresh air in circulation through a property, right? So, I mean, that's crazy, right? Like, let me just kind of give you that in context here.
What do you?
Wait, sorry.
Okay, this was not for you.
Okay, wait.
But
okay,
this
is
for
so
something later.
So $6,500. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, okay. $6,500. Imagine if you have 1,000 employees.
Okay.
Okay. So you have 1,000 employees.
Wait. $6,500 is for what?
$6,500 is the added value that the average employee makes, right, for the company, if you just pump more fresh air intake, right? So imagine if you're a big company, 1,000 people. I don't have the math.
I think
so it's like 6.5. I think 6.
This is live math.
I think it's 6.5 million. I think, right?
Wow.
Okay, per year, right? So I think, and with this whole pandemic thing, people are actually more conscious about this, because they want more fresh air circulation.
So this is just the impact of having more fresh air.
This is just the impact of having that.
Wow,
right?
That's crazy.
And
can you put that back? This ruin the shot.
Sorry. I got excited.
This guy's thinking props.
I got excited. Okay. No, but put that in perspective. So I think this is going to be more this type of stuff is going to be more front and center when larger companies are going to be looking for office space, right? They're going to, because not only does it add productivity, but people psychologically are going to feel, and they're right, that more air, fresh air circulation is actually going to be cleaner.
So you talk about fresh air. What about, one of the things that I heard from Eric Schmidt, who's the former Google CEO, said that this will be a boom for commercial real estate, because people will try to design workplaces where you can enable more social distancing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, by the way, people have said, commercial real estate will fundamentally shrink, because people just don't need that storefront. They don't need that space anymore. Work is becoming a lot more digital anyway, so you don't need all that space. So there's two sides of the coin.
That's why anybody who says that they don't know. Right? I think it depends on the company. I think it depends on.
But listen, you're on the ground floor. You're talking to these tenants and landlords all day long. Most of the people that
you do not get the same opinion from the same from different people, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how like people in our industry, they're all saying, yeah, this is great. And there's a lot of good evidence for that. I think the return of the office, the traditional office space, obviously it's going to probably be smaller, but I think that's going to make a comeback because people are going to feel more comfortable having four walls around them, right? And maintaining that social distancing.
What about you've seen this boom in real estate, not real estate, but in work where there's more co-working spaces, there's more companies coming together, and I think, does that actually make sense during a pandemic? Because you can't really, you can't really govern the policies of your organization.
You mean different organizations coming together?
Yeah, you co-work I don't want to talk about WeWork, but and then there's business model that completely shattered. But the idea of working together at co-working spaces.
I think that model is still going to exist, right? The co-working space creates a niche for smaller businesses or that flexibility kind of structure. That's always going to exist. But I think their office space, what they're offering is potentially going to change. Like I think they're going to probably incorporate more really tight private offices rather than kind of trying to jam as many people as they can in an open workplace, right? Just to maintain that social distancing. So I do agree that I think offices are going to make a comeback, and that's going to fundamentally obviously increase the footprint, right, of space. But on the flip side, I think a lot more companies are going to incorporate a home-based solution into their workplace model, which allows people, to have that flexibility. So remember when we were working at Deloitte, we had the hoteling system, right, where you just come in, right, and book your office or book your thing, and then when you're done, you just wipe and leave.
Except
right?
for you had your all shit, your shit everywhere.
I didn't respect the rules, and but I think you might see that, and that reduces office space significantly as well, right? So I don't know, man.
Tell me about retail.
Oof.
Because not only during this pandemic are a lot of retailers going out of business, but you're also seeing the rise of e-commerce. You're seeing brick and mortar getting demolished by this. What do you think the impact is going to be to retail?
Firstly, I am not a retail specialist, but in our industry, what we've seen is, people are becoming extremely, you're either going to be innovative and figure it out, or you're just gonna die, essentially, right? This is kind of a do or die type of situation. So you're seeing companies now fundamentally change the way, like restaurants, for example. I think you're going to see a rise of ghost kitchens, which everyone's seen. You're going to see cloud kitchens, which are kind of collectively coming together and having.
Well, that was Travis Kalanick, the former CEO of Uber's idea.
So I do see it. There's a company here in Edmonton that is actually providing software to allow restaurants to actually do their own delivery, right? So I think you're gonna. It is changing how people are looking at it.
Another interesting trend is that not only are people buying stuff virtually through their phone, delivery, etc., but you're also seeing this change within organizations where they need way less resources. So you're also seeing the rise of solopreneurs, intrapreneurs, where they have very small teams. Yep. Just yesterday, Joe Rogan just signed a deal with Spotify for $100 million. That's crazy. He's got 3 employees.
I know, that's crazy. Good for him.
We are now in a world where you have these individual creators that are building amazing businesses with very small teams, and they don't need that much footprint. So what is, that trend is just it's gonna increase, plus the trend of e-commerce increasing.
Yeah. Aren't
you worried about your job?
No, because.
Was that a nervous laugh? I don't know.
It was. I was like, no, honestly, I don't think the traditional workplace is gonna go anywhere. You cannot run. It's gonna be really hard to run an engineering company, right, from home, right? But again, I do think the way they look at their office space is gonna change, right? And engineering firms are notorious. They'll look at an open space and be like, I can fit 1,000 people in this space. That's gonna have to change, right? Like people aren't just going to be comfortable with that. And I think that's going to expand potentially footprints, but then they are also going to allow people to work from home. So again, who knows? But I had an interesting conversation with a client of mine yesterday, and they had just moved into a Suburban building. And they're back to work 100%. And they said that if we were in a downtown tower,
right,
it wouldn't have been the same.
Because the elevators. Yeah. Okay, so on that note, yeah, do you think things will go more flat?
I don't know. I potentially.
Because you know, when you're in a tall tower,
yeah,
like elevators are already packed
right,
to the brim anyways.
There's towers in Toronto that have like 7,000 people.
Yeah.
Right, or more. Right. So imagine going down an elevator, but at the end of the day, I mean, business requires that collaboration as well. So like a law firm being in the suburbs, or a tech, you know, like a tech firm that wants to be in a area where there's a lot of tech. I mean, downtown.
It depends where your client. It definitely depends where your clients are and who you're interacting with. Right. Or, you know, if you're building an organization that doesn't have that many local clients, then you know, that probably makes sense.
But I think for some people, they may see that, hey, it's actually easier to make my, you know, have my employees like mobile and kind of comfortable in a suburban environment. I mean, that could be the case in some instances.
So what is your advice for landlords that are looking at their vacant spaces? I don't know what the vacancy rates are, but they're what is your advice to them, like, and how do you navigate the future for them?
Well, I mean, landlords have to be prepared that for the first couple of years after this, I mean, there is going to be an increase in vacancy, no doubt, because their companies are not going to make it, right? So yeah, they're going to have to be creative. They're going to have to be ahead of the curve. I mean, that example of the fresh air, I think landlords are going to have to look at their current you know, systems, right, and see, hey, am I competing? Am I actually offering something that might be attractive to larger tenancies? I think cleaning is going to be another huge thing, right? Like, I think somebody fundamentally is going to have to start cleaning my mouse, right?
Well, I think you could clean you could clean your own mouse.
Yeah. No, but like, it is disgusting, right? Like, I was touching it, I was like, oh man, this is nasty. Right. So, I think cleaning is going to be disrupted, right? I think what else? Security.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to start seeing some crazy things before the vaccine is taken out. As people roll back into work, you're going to see some kind of like stuff that's not sustainable.
Right.
Like temperature checks, like 2 people in an elevator. Like, that's not sustainable.
No.
Right?
I agree with you. Now, what about tenants? You know, I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of people that wanted to move into particular spaces, or they are thinking about like what their next steps are. Like, what's your advice to them?
Tenants have to, like, companies have to have a proper rollout plan for tenants moving back in, for their employees moving back in.
Right.
And you're seeing it, like the ones that actually have a plan, I mean, they're actually mitigating the risk. But people who are just like going back to, you know, telling people to just go back to work without a plan, that's a disaster ready to happen, because people have to understand that everyone has a different opinion and everyone has a different threshold on the whole issue, right? And you have to respect everybody, right? In order to respect everybody, you have to kind of look at the person who's the most uncomfortable with the situation, and you have to mold your entire strategy towards that person, right? So, yeah, companies should hire a workplace strategist to kind of roll out an execution plan for coming back to work.
Okay, so last question. What is the future of commercial real estate? From what I've heard, just to summarize, is that it's going to be great, but different.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to say it. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be exciting, but I think it's going to be different. And I actually do think that it could fundamentally change the type of people who thrive in the workplace. Like I said, I think the Anitas of the world, all right, are going to have a better opportunity to thrive.
You know, and I love that note. Not because my mom's name is Anita, but you know, she's definitely.
I was
gonna,
imagining your mom.
She's
gonna
thrive.
your mom being like boss woman.
I'm gonna tell my mom that she's gonna thrive. All this quarantining, watching Indian soap operas is gonna definitely. She's gonna be the winner in all of this. Well, listen, I really thank you for your time today.
Yeah, man, no problem. This is crazy, by the way.
This is, you know, this is really important because I know like we're chatting all the time.
Yeah.
And by the way, the reason why my hands are, why I have like.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter was like putting nail polish. It's not like a weekend thing that I do, so just letting you guys know. But no, I really appreciate this, and yeah, hopefully we should do this more often.
Hey man, this is crazy. Honestly, this is beautiful.
Well, we can't shake hands, so
we can kind of do an air bump. Okay, that was really lame. Yeah.